Now go get another job.
MSNBC's Joe Scarborough blasted teachers for wanting to work remotely during a massive rise in the Omicron variant of COVID-19. Now, before I get to this clip here, there's a lot of discussion around what the right thing to do with schools is. I don't think that discussion is clear. I think it is a debate, but to blast teachers over their worry about the rise of COVID and how it's impacting children, I think is disgusting. So before I get to the clip, to set it up here, it was around the Chicago teachers. So public school officials in Chicago canceled classes for Wednesday amid a clash with the teachers union, whose members had threatened to stay home in a bid to force instruction online during a coronavirus surge. Union members had criticized the district's response to the Omicron variant, which has pushed cases in the city to record levels, and said conditions in classrooms were unsafe. The Chicago Teachers Union said late Tuesday night that 73% of members who voted favored pausing in-person instruction. So with that said, here is Joe Scarborough on MSNBC.
If you don't want to teach, don't teach.
Yeah.
Quit. Just stay at home and stop teaching children, okay?
Or,
because when you set up that barrier to getting back to class, when healthcare officials say that you can still be testing positive 30 days after, well, you obviously, if that's your standard, you're either ignorant when it comes to science, or you just don't want to be in classes. And if you don't want to be in classes, that's fine. Listen, thank you for your service to our children. Now go get another job.
So there is MSNBC's Joe Scarborough blasting teachers for wanting to work remotely during COVID-19 while he is working remotely from his home studio. These people do not care how hypocritical they are. Now, they don't care how ridiculous they sound. Here he is in his remote studio blasting teachers for wanting to work remotely because of Omicron. Then why are you there if you think this is not a big deal? So ridiculous. So I'll get to more of his comments here about how he apparently thinks teachers want to work from home, which also is absurd. Clearly, he doesn't know any teachers. But let me start here with why teachers are worried about this. Right now from CNN, a record high number of kids are getting hospitalized with COVID-19 as overall COVID-19 hospitalizations soar past the Delta peak. So because kids are largely unvaccinated, there isn't a vaccine for many kids of a younger age. Clearly, this is impacting children more. So this is why I say there's a debate about this. I don't think it's clear. If schools took the proper precautions, had N95s for everyone, had proper ventilation systems, then we could have a real debate about what the right thing to do is. But at the very least, let's wait until this surge is over and see where things go from there. But to blast teachers over their worry about how this is impacting kids is just disgusting. So more on this from NBC. According to an NBC News analysis, at least 9 states have reported record numbers of COVID-related pediatric hospitalizations: Connecticut, Georgia, Illinois, Kentucky, Massachusetts, Maine, Missouri, Ohio, and Pennsylvania, as well as Washington, D.C. So, of course, Chicago, Illinois, one of the states here being impacted by the rise in children. So it's so bizarre to not treat this as a debate and instead blast teachers for their worry about how this is impacting kids. Now, as I said, there's ways to potentially have a real debate about this if these classrooms, these schools were properly equipped with N95s, with proper ventilation systems. But in most cases, that isn't happening. Of course, the school systems in the U.S. are just decimated. So this is why there is that worry there. Now, in Ontario, in Canada, there is an awareness of the impact of COVID-19 and Omicron on kids, which is why Ontario just shut down schools for the next 2 weeks, moving to remote learning again. Again, it's not the ideal situation, of course, but with this massive jump, this massive rise, especially in kids of COVID-19 with this Omicron variant, it's what makes sense right now. And then, we'll see in 2 weeks where things go. So the science is showing that this is the right thing to do. Now, as I said earlier, teachers don't want to be doing this. They're doing this out of necessity for health reasons. But you can see piece after piece after piece. Teachers hate working remotely. It is not an ideal situation. This article here from the New York Times: I taught online school this year. It was a disgrace. Home alone with younger siblings or cousins. Kids struggle to focus while bouncing a fussy toddler or getting whacked repeatedly on the head with a foam sword. Others lay in bed and played video games or watched TV. Many times each day, I carefully repeated the instructions for floundering students, only to have them reply helplessly, quote, "I'm sorry, I can't hear you," their audio squealing and video freezing as they spoke. So just, a couple of issues that pop up here with remote learning. Obviously, it's much tougher on teachers when the students are not there in the classroom with them. Again, more articles on this. I'll link to all this below the video on YouTube so you can read through these if you want. But this one from a year ago, I hated remote learning or remote teaching during the COVID-19 lockdown. It should never replace the classroom. While some students thrived, many others flailed in the digital learning environment. And from Psychology Today, I hate virtual learning. So this is not something teachers want to do. When you go into teaching, you don't expect to be teaching from home, obviously. So for Joe Scarborough to try and claim or make it sound like teachers want to, have an easy go at it by being at home is just absurd. It's harder on them. It's harder on everyone. But right now with this massive Omicron variant impacting children the most, it makes sense to put a pause on in-class learning and see where everything goes.